Bowman live. Listen up, Philadelphia. Let's talk about it on tonight. According to Philadelphia Magazine, SEPTA unveils its new budget. 5 regional rail lines are now gone, 56 bus routes slashed, and the highest fares of SEPTA, of any bus line in the country. All of this can be avoided, the agency says, if Harrisburg can agree on a budget that funds mass transit statewide. So this article was written by Sandy Smith for Philadelphia Magazine. Let's talk about it right now. SEPTA's annual going out of business sale has returned with a vengeance, set to go into effect July through August. Interim General Manager Scott Sawyer delivered this news at a 10 a.m. press conference where the agency unveiled its austerity budget for fiscal year 2026. Let me adjust the volume here, make sure we got it turned up. Under SEPTA's new budget, the agency plans to raise transit fares by more than 20% and cut service by 45%. As of August 24th, 32 bus lines, half in the city and half in the suburbs, will cease operating. An additional 16, 10 in the city and 6 in the burbs, will have their routes cut back, and service will be reduced on 12 of the 13 SEPTA metro lines, all regional rail lines, and 63 bus routes, 46 of those in the city, including the 2 night owl buses that replace the B1 or Broad Street and L1 Market Frankfurt rapid transit lines. In addition, all special event transit services such as sports express trains will end. And then in September, SEPTA extends its current management hiring freeze to operate personnel. Bus cash fare will rise from $250 to $290. Tie-in SEPTA with the New York Meta for the title of higher base fares in the country, or the New York MTA. In January, on the 1st of January 2026, all 5 of the regional routes that run on Amtrak-owned tracks, the Chestnut Hill West, San Juan, Paoli, Thorndale, Trenton, and Wilmington, New York lines will cease operations. Rapid transit route by Broaden Ridge Spruce will cease operations along with an additional 18 bus routes, 4 of them and the 2 night owl buses located in the city. Trolley routes G1, the former Route 15 from Port Richmond to Overbrook via Richmond Street and Girard Avenue. I was up in that area today. And the T1, former Route 10, from City Hall to Overbrook via Lancaster Avenue, will be permanently converted to bus operation. And all remaining SEPTA metro and regional rail lines will cease service at 9 p.m. every night. Quote, like mass transit agencies across the country, SEPTA is facing a structural budget deficit due to a combination of the ending of federal COVID relief funds and increases in the day-to-day cost of providing service to our customers, end quote, Sawyer said at the news conference. Well, how about this, SEPTA management? How about y'all slash those hefty 6-digit salaries from corporate? Let's start there. Instead of them making over $200,000 to $600,000 a year, why don't you cut back how much money they make? Why do you all insist on always making the bus riders, the elderlies, and the consumers pay for the mishaps of mismanaging a bankrupt organization? From $2.50 to $2.90? That's ridiculous. And what about all the people and students who depend upon SEPTA? You all don't care about that, because you care about your benefits package. You care about your nice white cars and your nice white shirts. You care about the hefty salaries that you enjoy. This impacts everything, everyone, and everybody, especially people who have to come home from work at night. How are they supposed to get home? I know some of y'all don't like what I'm saying, but it's a reality. It has to be said. SEPTA has been preparing for this looming funding crisis by cutting costs and generating new revenue. And thanks to these efforts, we managed to reduce our budget deficit to its current state of $213 million, Sawyer said. Sawyer continued, SEPTA cannot significantly reduce this deficit just by trimming fast. It will have to cut into muscle. And that, he said, would eliminate the ridership and revenue gains the agency has posted since the end of the pandemic. The economic activity of the Southeast region powers Pennsylvania like no other, and none of that is possible without SEPTA getting people to work, to school, to medical appointments, and to other destinations. If we're forced to start dismantling the system in the coming fiscal year, SEPTA will shift from driving the region's economy to holding it back. SEPTA estimates that the service cuts and fare hike will lead to a $19.9 billion loss in household property values across the region, more than 76,000 potential jobs, and $6 billion in potential earnings loss, and an $11.4 billion net present value loss in tax revenue. Well, why don't you go out there and get all these billionaires that they keep talking about in Washington, D.C.? And why don't all you billionaires get in a room and sit down and talk it over? Why don't you billionaires come to a consensus that you take your money and start investing in SEPTA instead of making everyday people always pay the price? Let me tell you something, people. We have more power than you think we do. We can shut the entire SEPTA system down by simply letting them know we're done, we've had enough. And believe me, when they start losing money, they'll drop the fares again. However, Sawyer said none of this will be necessary if the General Assembly passes Governor Josh Shapiro's proposed fiscal 2026 budget, which includes adequate funding for mass transit statewide. Sawyer thanked the region's Harrisburg delegation for standing together in support of SEPTA, and he also thanked both Philadelphia Mayor Sherrell Parker and the four collar county governments for increasing their contribution to the agency's operating budget. Let me just make this crystal clear. The general Republican-led assembly will never cooperate to make Philadelphia and Governor Josh Shapiro look good. They are MAGA Trumpites to the core, and they would rather see it go under and see it become bankrupt before they lift a finger and do anything. That's what all the stalemate is about in Harrisburg. They can never get anything done. They can never get nothing done in Harrisburg because of those bigoted, racist Republicans. The Democratic-controlled House has voted to approve the governor's budget, but the Republican majority Senate, just like I'm talking about, I know exactly what I'm saying, has so far refused to do so last fall when Shapiro flexed statewide funds to plunge a $153 million hole in SEPTA's budget. Some in attendance at the announcement identified paying for the funding as a sticking point. State Senate leaders are pushing legislation they have sought for at least a year that will allow games of skill, the slot machine like video games found in bars and convenience stores across the state, to be taxed and regulated. So this is what's on the minds of the Republicans. More taxation to benefit who? The rich and the powerful. It certainly isn't going to help everyday people. As long as rich people can get richer and more greedier, they don't care about everyday people. They don't care about the poor. They don't care about the needy. They don't care about the suffrage of those around the country and around the nation. This is why activism is so important. Speaking out for those who can't speak for themselves. Fighting for those who cannot fight for themselves. Standing up for those who don't have the courage or won't stand up for themselves. Let me tell you, preaching something, just coming to church and praying is not going to get the job done. You have to do more than pray, Reverend. Sawyer said he is comfortable working with State Senate Majority Leader Joe Pittman, Republican from the 41st District, and anyone else who is working on ways to address both the Commonwealth structural deficit and those of its transit agencies. Pittsburgh announced a similar austerity budget last week, but that absent a solution to the state budget deficit, SEPTA must balance its budget anyway, and that will mean drastic service cuts. And not just in southeastern Pennsylvania. There's transit in all 67 counties of the Commonwealth, and each of them will be faced with the same problems we're talking about here, he said. I will keep you updated on what's happening with SEPTA. So stay tuned to Tyrone Bowman Live. Either you can just catch the video when it comes across your feed, or you can simply subscribe to the channel. Till next time, thank you for watching. Never surrender, never quit.